A 22-year-old mother in Illinois has been arrested for allegedly starving her 19-month-old son to death late last year, claiming that she lacked the motivation to properly care for the toddler. Jamie Hannion was taken into custody in Tennessee earlier this month and returned to Cook County last week, where she is facing 1 count each of first-degree murder and felony endangering the life of a child in the death of young Nathan Wisdom, again 19 months old, who weighed less than 10 pounds at the time of his death. Deputies with the Cook County Sheriff's Office on October the 18th, 2022 responded to a 911 call about a baby in distress at Hannion's home located in Lyons Township, around 15 miles southwest of Chicago. The caller, later identified as Hannion's sister, was reportedly taking care of her nephew at Hannion's request when she went into his room and found the child dead in his crib. Upon arriving at the scene, first responders located the severely malnourished child in his bedroom and pronounced him dead on the scene. Investigators at the home reportedly said rigor mortis had already set in by the time that they arrived, meaning that Nathan had already been dead for some time. Deputies described Nathan as being cold to the touch with blue lips and covered in his own feces and vomit. An autopsy determined that Nathan's manner of death was a homicide and his cause of death was nutritional neglect, starved to death, emphasizing that the child's stomach contents indicated that he had not eaten in approximately 3 days. Furthermore, Nathan was born weighing 6.6 pounds and he weighed only 9.5 pounds at the time of his death. Once more, 19 months old, gained less than 3 pounds since birth. Investigators found plenty of food inside Hannion's home and emphasized that the multiple cats who also lived in the home were found to be well fed and healthy, but the mother couldn't spare food or any attention for Nathan. Following the release of the autopsy report, police in February obtained an arrest warrant for Hannion, but learned that she was out of the state, visiting family in Tennessee. She was taken into custody March 7th and brought back to Illinois March 23rd. During a court hearing on Friday, prosecutors painted a harrowing portrayal of Nathan's short life, saying that his mother rarely paid any attention to him at all, would go days without feeding him, and almost never let him out of his crib. He was a prisoner in his crib, starved of literal food and literal affection. Additionally, just prior to Nathan's death, Hannion, the mother, reportedly told investigators that she heard the baby screaming on Saturday, but didn't check on him over the course of the entire weekend. Too difficult to check on your baby over the course of an entire weekend. Oh, he's screaming. Oh, he hasn't been fed for days. Can't be bothered to check on him. What kind of mother? What kind of human? Hannion stated that the screaming eventually stopped and she just couldn't be motivated to check up on baby Nathan. I've got to mention mental illness at this point. I'm going to mention postpartum depression. I'm not an expert in postpartum depression. I have no idea if that would be relevant or not, but I can only attribute this behavior from the mother to mental illness. No rational, sane person could treat a child in this manner, not feed them for days. That is just absurd. Can't even be bothered to check up on the child over the course of an entire weekend. I don't understand how that's possible. I don't think it is possible with a rational, sane person. I have to think that mental illness is what's going on here. Now, that's not to say that mental illness should be used as an excuse, as a pass to elicit a low sentence. No, it is what it is. If it's mental illness or not, or if it's evil, if it's the act of Satan, whatever it happens to be, ultimately this mother, this scumbag, this banshee chose to take the course of action that she took. She chose to ignore her son's cries. She chose to not feed her 19-month-old baby boy on an ongoing basis. Again, he weighed 9.5 pounds at the time of his death. He was starved, nutritionally neglected on an ongoing basis. Born weighing 6.6 pounds, nice and healthy. The cats were well fed. She made her choices. So if it's mental illness or not, her behavior is not to be excused or downplayed in any way at all. But I think it's relevant and worthwhile to mention mental illness if we're going to try to understand these things. That's what I think. I'm interested to hear what you think. Back to the article. When her sister came over to watch Nathan that Monday, she reportedly found him already dead. The mother told investigators that she was a bad mother. Yeah, no shit. She lacked motivation to feed and take care of baby Nathan, and that most of the time she just doesn't feel like moving, and so she cannot get to baby Nathan. But I'm not a psychologist, quite obviously. She doesn't feel like moving. I mean, this woman sounds depressed, severely depressed. I mean, one mental illness or another, surely. Where was CPS? Where was the intervention from the doctors? And am I putting too much emphasis on the state, on authorities? Where was the family? Okay, the sister's come over and she's done the right thing, but this seemingly was an ongoing situation. Is it the sister's responsibility to fully maintain the well-being of her nephew? No, not exactly, but you would have thought that a family that resembles what we commonly view to be what a family ought to resemble would be in a position to have an understanding of the development of the child. Perhaps that's not the case. Perhaps the sister rarely had any contact with Hanyan. I wouldn't blame her to some extent. And maybe this is just a sign of what modern life is like. We ignore our neighbors. We don't check up on our neighbors. We don't check up on our family. If they annoy us, if they upset us, we leave them alone. Don't want to go and see my sister. She's depressed. She's got too many cats in her place. Can't be bothered, That's pretty much the full details presented in the article. We're told that the mother, Hanyan, is scheduled to appear in court again April 30th. So, of course, rest in peace. The 19-month-old boy starved to death, Nathan Wisdom. Seemingly, as far as I can gather, the mother has admitted to her awful behavior, her awful so-called motherhood. She's admitted that she just didn't have the energy. She didn't have the motivation, is the word that she used, to bother to check up on her child, to bother to feed her child. She's admitted to ongoing neglect, as far as I can tell. So with that, she has to be sentenced, no question, in my mind. And she has been charged with murder. If this occurred in England, I guarantee she would get a pass. I guarantee she'd be sentenced to a very light sentence, like, I don't know, maybe even less than 6 years or something like that. If this was in England, that's my judgment from the cases that I've read through. But this didn't happen in England. It happened in Illinois. So hopefully you guys over there will treat this seriously. I'm sure you will. And let's hope she gets sentenced to an extremely long amount of time. And let's hope that the prison guards and her fellow inmates have a good understanding of how she treated young Nathan, how she chose to starve, nutritionally neglect young Nathan to the point that he died, to the point that he wasn't able to grow, to the point that he weighed 9.5 pounds at the time of his death, aged 19 months old. I wonder if the prison guards or her fellow inmates are able to reciprocate in any way. How would you feel it like not being able to grow because you don't have any food, you don't have any sustenance? How would you like to go days without being able to eat food? Thanks for listening, guys. I do appreciate it. I'll be making more videos more regularly. Let me know if there are any topics that you'd like me to cover. Let me know what I'm doing well, what I'm doing not so well. Looks like I'm in this for the long haul. And yeah, I'm getting used to this now. So please make sure you like, comment, subscribe. If you're happy to consider becoming a member, that would be great. I've got 0 so far, literally 0 members. I would like to get a few members. It would be really nice. But of course, that's up to you.